Hey, what's up, internet people? It's probably going to be on my social media and my YouTube. And this is just a talking video. It's a warning. Could save your life. Those of you who don't like talking videos, just letting you know so you can dip out now if you want. But what I got to say will probably save your life or a friend's or a loved one's life. So I'm going to share what happened to me almost 3 weeks ago now, because it's something we didn't know as a family, or me, I didn't know. A lot of people do seem to know. Guess it all depends on where you live. So what happened was, my fiance took her to Central Florida for her birthday weekend, and we went swimming at a state park called Lake Louisa State Park. And immediately afterwards, that evening, we probably went swimming around, 3, 4, 5 in the afternoon, something like that. And that night, all of us got sick. There was 7 of us. Most of them got diarrhea. I got really bad vomiting. Now, my fiance had literally just had a tooth pulled like the day before we went there. So she had an open hole in her gums, open wound. Okay. Now, let me go ahead and say this, because it's a messed up situation. All right. We have had to figure out everything on our own. Okay. Everybody in any kind of position of power who can do anything, they all act like they want to turn a blind eye to this, like this is something new they've never heard of. So I'm just going to go ahead and start this out now. Most of this information is information I've had to gather because we couldn't get help from anybody. So a lot of this is my own opinion. No, I can't get the quote-unquote facts to back it up. This is my opinion, what's going on. But I will share what I know and let you make your own decision, okay? And the reason why I'm sharing this with you is because if we would have known this, we would have never even gone swimming in that lake, okay? And this literally almost killed a person that I care for very, very much. So, the next morning after we all got sick, well, let me also say, so at the campground, the lake, the restrooms at the lake are fed off of the lake water, and it's got a well that runs the campground. Okay? So, when we went swimming in the lake, we noticed the water was very strange looking. Like it was very dark. Like I could probably only see my hand in front of my face about this far. I had a scuba mask on, trying to look at the ground. I like to do that and see what I can find. About this far away is all I could see before the water was so murky it didn't, it couldn't see through it. Then the bathrooms, like I said, the toilets, the sink, everything was all fed off of the water in the lake. And the smell coming off, when you would flush the toilet, the water was so nasty and dirty that it looked like you needed to flush the toilet after you were flushing the toilet. And the smell coming off of that was just horrendous. Gave me a headache. Okay? And the water that was supplied, we were staying there in the RV. We own an RV. And, I was hooked up to the local water supply. And I ran the water through a Brita filter before. We had an ice maker. It was making ice. We were getting our drinking water. Running it through a Brita filter. Thought I was doing good. But that water had a very horrendous smell to it as well. And the water tasted awful. So, like I said, been drinking the water in the camper. We went swimming in the water at the lake. Went and used the bathroom. Sat in the bathroom with that horrific smell. Didn't think much of it. We have never been to a lake before. We are used to beaches, saltwater beaches, saltwater areas, where the tide comes in and out throughout the day. We're used to springs where the water is 72 degrees and got millions of gallons of water flowing through a day. We've never been to a lake before. So the next day, about 7:30 in the morning, my fiance wakes me up out of a sleep and says, something's not right. I don't know what's wrong. And I was like, what do you mean? It's like, I don't feel right. Something's not right. Call 911. I jumped up out of bed, got her sitting on the couch, called 911, and while I was on the phone with them, she went out. She was done. Unresponsive. Paramedics showed up. Couldn't get her to come to for nothing. They I think it's called the sternum rub, to try to get a response. Nothing. They had to strap her to a chair and carry her out of the RV. We get to the ER. They run every test you could imagine. All kinds of blood work, MRIs, CT scans, EKGs on her heart, EEGs on her brain waves, all kinds of labs on her blood, urine, stool, everything. Can't find anything. I'm freaking out. It's been all day. She went out in the morning around 7:30. It's 3 o'clock in the afternoon. She's still completely unconscious on the bed. I don't have any idea what's going on. The doctor's saying, well, we've never seen this before. I start looking up, stuff online. And I came across articles that started talking about bacteria infections in water. And then it starts saying that when the temperature's hot, which it was, that weekend we were there, we were hitting over 100-degree temperatures. And from what I've read online, bacteria could form in the water, and then once there's so much bacteria, it starts to decay and off-gas nitrogen, or that might not be correct, but off-gas is something that has a very unpleasant, nasty, foul-smelling odor. And it said right online, if you smell that around any body of water, that's an immediate sign to steer clear. Okay? So I bring this up to the doctor's attention. Hey, we're swimming in the lake. We were all fine until we were swimming in the lake, and literally there's 7 people in the family, and all of a sudden, after we swim in it, we either all got diarrhea or vomiting. Okay? We were in the hospital for a total of 4 or 5 days. Now, the whole time we were there, I had a neurologist, an infectious disease expert, 2 general practitioners, and a handful of different nurses. Every single one of them acted like this is some kind of mystery case and have never seen anything like this before in their lives. She's a mystery. That's what we were told. She's a mystery. Meanwhile, I'm got nothing better to do but sit here and study WebMD, Google, all this stuff. Now here's my findings that the doctors won't recognize. And I'll get to that in a minute. What I have found is that certain bacteria in the water, like I told you earlier, they start breaking down. They got such high concentrations. They start off-gassing this bad odor and everything. You can get sick from just merely the smell of it getting in your nose, let alone swimming in the water. And it said if the body of water is contaminated with this bacteria, that it can affect nearby wells. Okay? So, and there's a technical term I'm sorry, I can't remember the technical term. It's doctor talk. It's a certain kind of toxicity, toxicus or whatever. And the description of it was, now she didn't meet all the criteria. There were certain things like didn't want to eat and stuff like that she didn't have. But what she did have was total nervous system shutdown. Okay? Her whole body just shut off like that. Just boom. Now, from what I've read and what I understand, when you have such a serious infection like that in your blood, your body will completely shut you down because it has to concentrate 100% of its efforts into neutralizing and removing this infection, this foreign object in your system. Then, after it does that, you will slowly come back. It could take days, could take weeks, maybe a month or two. Everybody reacts different. And so far, that is what she is doing, my fiance. It's followed it to almost to the T of what I've read online. And I repeatedly bring this up to doctors, and they just look at me like I'm just the craziest SOB that's ever strolled into their doctor's office. Okay, I've had them tell me, well, I just cannot connect the dots on how this happened. Now, that being said, these are the high up people, the doctors and everything like that. While we were at the hospital, we talked to other people. The woman who did my fiance's brain scan was reading her chart, and she asked us, what lake did you swim in? I told her the lake, and she cringed. She said, I was 17, and me and my family swam in that lake, and I got bad sick like she did, and so did my whole family, and I've never swam in a lake again the rest of my life. That's one person. The other gentleman who was pushing her around in the wheelchair told us that just a couple weeks prior to us being in that hospital, somebody else, a man, was swimming in that lake, and he fell in the lake and gashed the side of his leg open in the lake. So obviously the lake water into his leg. Okay, he came in the hospital, same thing. He's a mystery. We don't know what's going on with this guy, but he managed to get better. And then locals around the area have told us the same type of story, and it's always been the same thing. We tell them what happened, and they give us this look, almost like, I mean, they're not being rude, but I take it like they're saying, well, you didn't know that? That's basically how we feel like, and that's what they've said. Like, what we've been told is the general rule, at least in Florida, is once the temperatures are over 90 degrees, you don't go swimming in any lake or stagnant body of water. That's what we've been told. Lakes or stagnant bodies of water. That's water that does not have a tide that's coming in and out. It's not salt water. It's not a spring that has, fresh water coming. It's a lake is something that water is always there. It's not being exchanged with fresh water, nothing like that. It's the same water and over. To these people that we're being told, it's like the general rule. And we didn't know that. And we have been told all kinds of horror stories about the one guy me and my fiance met at the restaurant, because she's in a wheelchair now. And he was telling us that his brother was swimming in a lake that's only about 10 to 15 minutes away from the lake we were at. And he got a flesh-eating bacteria in his legs. And he almost lost his legs by swimming at the same time of year right now, where it's really hot. Another football mom, I'll call her football mom, at her son's school. My son's in football, and I'm not going to mention any names, but she was telling us just a couple years ago, her son's best friend, he died in swimming in a lake. They were out on the jet ski, and there's a thing called a brain-eating amoeba. I didn't know this either. So, please, I don't want no comments about, oh, this is so stupid, you should have known about that, everybody knows about that. No, we didn't know about it. I really wish we did know about it. I feel personally there should be a sign posted on all lakes and stagnant bodies of water that should say, in this time of year, the possibility for these diseases to happen because of the water temperature and the environmental conditions or whatnot. That should be a sign that's posted. I don't know why it's not, because we didn't know. But anyways, back to the story. Brain-eating amoebas. The guy died. And it's not bullcrap. I looked it up. Brain-eating amoebas, you literally, if you get a brain-eating amoeba, there's no cure. You die in 2 weeks. 2 weeks. I think they said it takes anywhere from 2 days to 7 days for the onset of symptoms. And then after that, the average lifespan, once the symptoms start, is about 5.5 days. And you're dead. There's only been 5 recorded cases in history of somebody actually surviving a brain-eating amoeba. That's in freshwater lakes and not streams, just lakes. All this stuff I had never heard of in my life. I wish I would have. So where are we at now? Okay. So the way my fiance has healed, her nerves were all gone. She had no feeling in her entire body. Every day she heals a little bit more, goes down her body. She's at the point now where she's got good feeling and control at about her knees, and the rest is still numb and not working right. So I feel confident that it will come back. I know it will. It's just going to be a little bit of a rough road. But my whole point in making this video is that nobody talks about this. Nobody warns you about this. I really feel the state park should have a warning up this time of year. And I've called them out. So let me share this with you. So I got a hold of the state park when it happened, told them that, I don't know what's going on. My fiance is very ill. We were actually supposed to check out that day. And I said, I have no idea when we're going to be back. I'll pay for the extra nights I have to leave my rig there. They were nice about it. They let me stay there for no charge. But it was kind of strange because I asked them then, when was the last time the water was tested? They told me it was a month and a half since they had run a test. Okay. So that was the end of the conversation. So while we were staying in the hospital, and I'm telling these doctors and these nurses and everything that, hey, I feel it was something in that lake. It had something to do with the open sore in the mouth. We were drinking the water at the campground, swimming in the water. It was good. You get some in your mouth. In the bathroom, you're sitting there inhaling the fumes. Okay. So they did a test on her blood for bacteria. Couldn't find any bacteria. Then I mentioned the toxin part. Okay, how the bacteria turns into toxin and everything. I said, check her for toxin. They said, well, we can't. I was like, well, why not? They said, there's so many toxins that we can't test for a toxin unless we know what we're looking for. I said, okay. And at that point, I was like, okay, well, we need to get this water tested at the lake. All right. So I called the state park back, the director of the state park, and explained what's going on. Explained that my fiance is very ill. Doctors have ran every test that there is. Can't find anything at all. The only variable is what is in that water. And I said, we need to get it tested. And very strangely, she told me, I believe her name is Rachel Nunlist, is the director of Lake Louisa State Park currently. So, very strangely that day, she told me that, oh, well, we took a water sample this morning and we send it out. I said, oh, good. Well, when's those results going to be back? She said, in 2 days. I said, well, I would really like a copy of those. Okay, not a problem. Told her this. Fast forward a couple days, it gets a little weird. She calls me from a blocked private number, like the police call you from. There's no way to have it identified, okay? She calls me to tell me, oh, we got the results back, everything is fine. I said, okay, well, I would like to know exactly what you tested for. I want to know what bacteria you tested for, what the concentration is in the water, what, the part per million count is and all that. She said, oh, well, I don't have the results in front of me. I'll have to call you back and let you know. I said, okay. So she calls me back maybe 10, 20 minutes later. She says, oh, we don't have those test results anymore. I was like, well, what do you mean you just got them back? It's like, well, because everything was fine and found to be within acceptable limits, there's no requirement for us to hang on to those results. Okay, so you tested the water, and she confirmed there was bacteria in the water. Said, yes, we found bacteria in the water, but her words were, quote, it was within acceptable limits. Couldn't tell me what those limits were. Couldn't tell me, what the standard is, now follow me along here, okay? Whatever the acceptable limit, I've been looking online. I can't find it. And if anybody out here, any of you guys watching can help me find this information, I would really greatly appreciate it. But I cannot find the standards. I can find quality of drinking water standards and, rules and regulations for runoff and all this other stuff. But I cannot find any regulations for any kind of testing procedures and regulations on bodies of water that are for swimming. Can't find it. So if anybody could, I would really appreciate it. But anyways, so here's my thought process. Okay, they're assuming that people who go swimming in the water, that's the test. They know however many part per million bacteria the standard person is going to be able to tolerate without getting bad ill. Okay? But I am willing to bet money that does not include what if you have an open wound. That's the thing you have to understand. If you have a cut anywhere on your body that's open, not healed, okay, if there's any bacteria, they now have direct access to your bloodstream. It's different when you ingest bacteria. It goes through your digestive system, and most of it is killed and removed in your digestive system. But when you have an open wound, it's direct access to your body. It bypasses all of that. And I'm willing to bet that these testing standards would have to be a lot lower if that was taken into consideration. So that's where we're at. We've been to all different kinds of doctors. Everybody keeps saying that's a mystery. The state park says the water's within acceptable ranges with the bacteria in the water. Can't even tell me what bacteria they found, but there was bacteria in it. But yet all the local people tell us, oh yeah, you don't go swimming in lakes and stuff like that in this time of year. You get bad sick. Another thing I found out that kind of connects the two together is in order for a body of water to be shut down for recreational purposes, somebody has to get bad ill. There has to be a diagnosis from a doctor what caused the illness, bacteria or, toxin. Once the diagnosis is there, then it has to be confirmed with a water analysis. So if all those things, 3 things happen, the body of water is shut down until further notice. What does that mean? It means loss of revenue. Who's to blame? You make that call. Me, I feel like that's why the hospitals don't want to get involved, because they're going to be the ones, the state park's going to be yelling at, hey, you just caused our state park to be shut down. We're losing all this money from people not coming here anymore. But just so you know, this is my speculation. This is not able to be proven, but it, to me, is the most likely scenario. So the main message of this video is to tell you, and you make sure you tell everybody you know, do not go swimming in any lakes in Florida when the outside temperatures are above 90 degrees. It is a breeding ground for you to get very bad ill, possibly even die. And that's what almost happened to my fiance. She almost died because there's only 2 stages when your body shuts down like that. First, your body shuts you down to the point where only your core things are working, your internal organs. You know, the whole time her blood pressure was stable, heart rate was stable, temperature was stable, but that was it. Okay, her core components to keep her alive were still functioning. If your body cannot fight off the infection at that point, then it starts choosing which organs it's going to start shutting down in order to keep you alive. Liver, kidneys, whatever. It's going to start shutting things down. That's close enough to death for me that I will never, or my kids or nobody I know, will ever go swimming in a lake again. It's just not worth it. The risk is not worth it. There's no warning signs. And apparently, you know, there's acceptable ranges of bacteria allowed to be present in bodies of water like that for you to still go swimming. To me, that's not acceptable. Yeah, maybe a couple dozen people a year only get affected out of thousands and thousands. That to me, that's still not acceptable. You know, apparently maybe we were one of the minority. That's still not acceptable to me. If there's even a possibility that you could get sick and die from simply just swimming in a body of water, nobody should be allowed to swim in that body of water until it's cleaned up. So that's my message to you. I wanted to share my story with you. Simply maybe to save a life. It's serious. It's nothing to brush off. Especially after, you know, hearing about this brain-eating amoeba, and it was confirmed by the doctors because they checked that from my fiance. They have to do a spinal tap. They have to stick this long needle in your spine and check the spinal fluid that connects your brain and spine for amoebas. And when they told me that, you know, just imagine being at the bedside of somebody you love dearly, and you asking the doctors, well, what are you doing right now? What are you checking for? What do you need that long needle for? And they tell you, we got to check for amoebas. And I'm like, well, what's an amoeba? And they tell you what it is, and then you look it up, and you realize there's like a 99% chance you can't survive that. And the test won't be back for, you know, till tomorrow. Yeah, I didn't sleep at all that night. It's not worth it. It's not worth it to go swim. There's so many other bodies of water. There's beaches, salt water, water where tides come in and out, springs that have a constant flow of fresh water. Plus the water's always 72 degrees. The bacteria can't grow in water that cold. There's so many other things to go swimming in. To me, any lake is not worth it. Also, just so you know, fishing, I found out that if you don't even have to go swimming in it, if you catch a fish that's in that type of water that's infected, cooking the fish isn't guaranteed to kill the bacteria. So you could get the kind of infection from eating a fish out of that body of water, thinking, well, you cook it, it's going to make it okay. Well, maybe that it might not either. It might not be okay. So, you know, take what I said to heart. Look it up for yourself. If you think I'm full of it, I really don't care. All I know is this happened to me, and it was very scary, most scared I've ever been in my life. And I couldn't, I wouldn't want to see this happen to anybody. It's horrific. So I know this is a 30-minute video, but thank you for listening. And please share. Please tell people you know. Hey, you hear them talking, yeah, we're going to go down to the lake this weekend, and you think, oh crap, it's summertime, it's like 95 degrees outside. Say, hey, wait a minute. Listen, I heard this. You might want to check it out. It could be bad. So, all right, y'all, be blessed.